And let's start at the very beginning. And if we could do the Pledge of Allegiance. And Deborah, would you lead us in that, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And can we do roll call, please?
Commissioners George Salgin, Deborah Van Essen,
Here.
David Collins, Steve Stevenson, Jeff Vayu,
Here.
Stephen Berber.
Okay, well, this time is afforded for public comment to be addressed. It's not on the agenda. Is there anyone that has a public comment? Okay. So we're looking to approve the minutes from our August meeting.
I'll move to approve.
Okay.
Nope. Let's just do a verbal.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Okay, our discussion item tonight is the major site review for SR 24-62 for 821 South Acacia Avenue. Bless you. Do we have anybody?
Just explain what's going to happen.
Oh, yes.
Ken's gonna- do you have
Yes,
that
we
here?
do have the staff report.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
fellow commissioners. If we could put the slideshow up. Yeah. A little bit. You can see a little bit of that. There we go. Basically, the request in front of you tonight is for a site plan permit to construct an unattended RV and boat storage facility on a portion of a light industrial zone property located at 821 South Acacia Avenue. The property currently contains 5 residential units on that property. There's also 4 on an adjacent piece of property to it. There's 9 residential units in that area, which they will remain. The proposed RV storage will be constructed in the vacant portion of the lot, which is between the existing residential units and the existing mini storage business located to the north. The proposed project is located in the light industrial district on 1.02 acres. However, the proposed RV storage facility will be located on about 0.5 acres of that parcel. You can see it on the vicinity map here. Access to the site will be provided by 2 new commercial driveways. Driveway approaches off of Acacia Avenue. The northern driveway approach, which is up to the top of the site plan picture there, will be the entrance to the RV storage facility. The automated keypad entry and gate will be located about 57 feet behind the sidewalk. This will allow RVs entering the site to pull completely off of the public roadway in order to access the keypad for the automated gate. Exiting the site will be provided by a second commercial driveway just south of the new RV entrance driveway. The existing driveway approach onto Acacia Avenue will align with the alley that provides access for the existing residential units. So here's a picture of that existing alleyway, which is a private alleyway for that parcel. Modifications will have to be made to existing fencing and storage areas on that site in order to facilitate that rear exit. Also with the site plan, there was a kind of a maneuvering diagram that was submitted just to show that RVs as well as fire engines and such that would have to maybe traverse through the site would be able to meet the turning radiuses as well. The site does contain 14 RV parking spaces ranging from 23 feet in length up to about 30 and a half feet in length. Most spaces will be 12 feet in width. with one parking space being 10 feet wide. Although the plan depicts concrete parking stops, a condition of approval has been added to the project requiring concrete bollards at the rear of the RV spaces to protect the adjacent mini storage facility. Additionally, a condition of approval has been added to the project limiting the length of RVs allowed on site due to the limitations of the RV parking space lengths. The main drive aisle for the RV storage area is 35 feet wide, which is considered an industry standard for maneuvering RVs into parking stalls. The Ripon Consolidated Fire District has reviewed the plan for minimum required turning radiuses and has identified no issues with the plan as submitted. Although there is no vehicle parking spaces identified on the site, the applicant will have to identify a location and install one off-street handicap van accessible parking space pursuant to the building code. Landscaping will be focused at the front of the site, the street side up against Acacia Avenue, and at the rear northwest corner of the site in the very back. The site plan indicates slightly over 10% landscaping, which meets the city standard of 10% for the light industrial district. The applicant has not submitted any detailed landscape plans at this point, but they will be required to submit detailed plans for final approval and review by the planning director, public works director, and building official. The landscaping on site will be required to hook up to the city's non-potable water system as well. Lighting for the site plan does not indicate any site lighting. However, a detailed lighting plan will be required to be submitted as well to the Ripon Police Department and Planning Department. All lighting will have to be shielded so it's not shining on any residentially zoned properties, neighboring properties. And then lastly, some of the other requirements of the project here. New asphalt pavement roadway section on the southbound lane of Acacia Avenue across the entire property frontage is required. A new city standard concrete sidewalk, curb, and gutter across the entire property frontage is a condition of approval of the project. There'll be a new 8-foot masonry wall across the entire western property line pursuant to the City of Ripon standards. So back property line, western property line is abutting against a residential property. So that would be an 8-foot masonry wall. The installation of one city streetlight on Acacia Avenue, which will include one city security camera mounted to the new streetlight. And then across the front, they plan to have 8-foot tall steel wrought iron fencing located at the entrance of the site. We did send this project out to all the jurisdictions and asked for any comments or conditions on the project. They have been incorporated into the staff report where appropriate, and we also had a meeting with the applicant to go over the project conditions as well. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman. I would be happy to answer any questions. I do believe the applicant's here too, if you have any questions of him. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, any questions?
I have some questions, but probably for the applicant, not
Okay.
for Ken.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so if you wish to testify, we'll recognize you. I'll recognize you. Approach the podium, state your name and address, and we'll start with the testimony for the applicant.
Oh, Ryan.
Right up here, Ryan.
I'm the applicant, Ryan Van Groningen, PO Box 442, Ripon.
So I'm curious, do you own the houses that are there, or are they owned by people personally, or are they rentals, or?
No, all those units we just purchased May of this year.
Okay. And so they will remain as single-family dwellings?
As of right now, yes.
Okay, okay. And then, so you do not own the other storage or the storage units that's there, I'm assuming?
No.
I'm assuming
Yes.
these folks own it, okay. Okay. Have you talked to your tenants at all? Do they know what's going in there?
Yeah, they've as I said, we just purchased it in May, and there's definitely needs to be a lot of renovation when it comes to sprucing it up. So there are a lot of tenants that have been there for a while, so we're trying to be mindful of that. But at the same time, I think we want to try to bring it up to better conditions and stuff like that. So hopefully, we'll be able to keep some of the current tenants, but some of them, I assume, too, might not be able to make it work after we do some renovations.
And this is all, it's locked and there's no one there. So everybody will have their own access key to come and go.
For the storage, yeah, parking and storage, yep.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yep.
Couple quick questions for me, Ryan. Any amenities, RV dump or anything else can be added?
No, since it's such a small facility, there's really not too many options to add all the extra perks or anything like that. So as of right now, the plans would just be just real basic.
So people will rent a site and then they'll come and pick up their RV when they're going out on adventures. Where will they most likely park once they pull their RV out?
So there will be some access along the road. There should be at least probably 4 spots, at least that a vehicle would be able to, if they drop off their RV, they could come around and park their car or pick up. So there'll be some options.
So you got up to 3 or 4 street site and probably most of the time, not more than 3 or 4 will be out.
I wouldn't think, since right now it's for only 14 spots. So
Perfect. Thank you.
yep.
So a question about the tenants, you had mentioned that you'll be making some site improvements, and I can see where it's changing the dynamic of a open alleyway to one that's closed. So I think Deborah asked the question about access in and out, but you're talking about improvements. Are you planning on increasing rent on those tenants, or?
So we plan to go one by one. I mean, this is going to be future. This might take us a while, but we already have the first one. They're going to be vacating by the end of the year. So we're just doing cosmetic. We're going to replace windows. Kind of restore it a little bit. We're not adding any square footage or anything like that. But again, we're going to go one by one. We're going to see how things go. Again, when we took it over, we met all the different tenants, and again, a lot of them have lived there for a long time. So we're trying to be mindful of that, but at the same time, a lot of those current tenants have not kept the property up to standards, and definitely not ripping standards, in my opinion.
Ryan, what year was those rental properties built?
I believe it was 1955. I believe is the original. Yeah.
Jeez, they're almost my age.
Yeah.
So in the increase, I'm assuming when you do the improvements to the first house on the property, what's the rent now and what will it be once the renovation's done?
So that front, so I'm talking about 831. So it's actually not even part of this project here because it's the
street
house.
side, yeah.
It's on the other side. So that one, I believe right now, I believe they rent for around 1,100. Once we fix it up, make it better, it should be at least around 2,000.
So just one last question for me on, I think you touched on it when it comes to a dump, but I'm in terms of soil contain or soil, it's going to be concrete or asphalt, I would assume, but RVs being parked there with all kinds of fluids like oil and other liquids like gas. What is there a containment set up on that, or is it a requirement of the tenant to have that, or do you supply that?
No, I mean, that would be, most of them should all be self-contained, but when it comes to any type of runoff or anything like that, again, these RVs supposed to have that all taken care of before they come and park.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a time for those that are in favor to come up and speak. Okay. And for those in opposition, please state your name and your address at the podium, please.
Hi, my name is Steve Terpstra. We reside at 353 Rose Court in Ripon. Okay.
Hi, Steve.
And my wife and I own Acacia Storage immediately to the north. Just wanted to clarify a couple of things. I understand that there's going to be bollards that will protect the property line. And I've been in property management for 30 years plus, and for a self-storage company. We have like 53 stores, and a lot of them have RV storage parking for that. And we wanted to make sure like the bollards were a substantial size and filled with concrete, maybe like a 6-inch at a minimum, filled with concrete. You have a lot of people that drive RVs that are not used to it, and when they're backing towards a building, it's good to have a little extra protection. I think another safety thing that we would be in favor of is like a crossbar that would be mounted to those posts so that if one was hit, it wouldn't just be pushed back, it would be supported by, the other bollards as well. So that was one concern. And then I just wanted to clarify on the drainage. I'm assuming that the property will drain towards the center with some DIs where the rainwater would come off.
The detailed plans for that have not been completed on that. However, that back left corner is going to be for the storm
Retention pond.
retention, and then it would probably from there connect.
It'd be on the west side.
Be in the back, west corner, the northwest corner.
Okay.
And then I would imagine typically the way those work is, those are built to hold a certain amount, and once they get to a certain capacity, if it's not perking anymore or the storm's bigger than that, they do have a positive connection to a storm drain.
Right. Okay. And then I was wondering about the hours of operation, accessibility for the RVs. Just because you have people pulling in, and we're just from a security standpoint.
I'll let Ryan do that, and it is if he wants to do a rebuttal.
Yeah.
That'd be a good question to ask.
Aside from that, I didn't have any other concerns.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Terpstra, address 353 Rose Court, the other part of Acacia Storage. I'm the one that's there most of the time. Once again, we were concerned about the back of our building because we have had a few people that they do hit something and they don't bother to tell the next person that they've hit somebody's unit, including our building. So we do want to protect our building as much as possible. And I was wondering, on the retention pond, is that back corner with the hash marks
Yes.
on it? Okay, so that is right up next to our building where we have units, so that is a concern of ours. That, that the drainage does not come into the units where it would seep into the concrete and into someone's unit. And that was another thing about the people, if they backed up into somebody's, or into our building, that's actually would be pushing into somebody's unit. So we wouldn't know if they actually damaged anybody's things until we got told. And then we'd have to contact our unit people to say, and that would be the back of their building. They're not going to want to come and have to pull everything out of their unit. So we need to make sure that we have really good security force to stop them so they don't damage our building. And I do have the question about the RV or the parking where they're dropping the vehicles off to stop. There really isn't in front of, we don't want everybody parking in front of our building because that is for our customers. There is maybe, I'm trying to figure out where the gate is, to see how many spots, because there's probably maybe 3 spots, but part of that's going to be the driveway. So I'm just concerned about where the people will park, and because usually when they come get their unit, they leave their vehicle. So we don't want everybody parking in front of our place or just a lot of vehicles parked out on the street also. And that was my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Do you have a rebuttal? Clarification?
Yeah, to answer the one question about hours of operation, we really haven't given that much thought yet. Again, it's going to be unattended, and they do have gate codes, so it would potentially could be 24 hours a day unless that's not doesn't follow city ordinance or whatever jurisdiction that is. Also, too, when it comes to parking, so when I talk about 3 or 4 parking spaces, that goes all along because we also have you have 821 Acacia and 831 Acacia. So we have that whole it's at least I would guess 200, 300 feet there of roadside there. So I think there's should be even with the entrance that shouldn't be an issue. Thank you.
Oh, just a minute.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of confused in that. So if people come, now these are not all motorhomes. Some of them are probably fifth wheels and stuff, right? So they're
Yeah, so there's really nobody going to be leaving their vehicle there
for
because
a long
again,
time.
correct, because the length of the stalls, they're pretty much all going to be travel trailers. So they need their vehicle to hook up. So it'd only be a matter of they parked it, they come around and they have to do a few things to it before they leave it until they come again. So it's not anything, I don't anticipate anybody leaving vehicles there while they're out because
Long
that
time.
doesn't really follow the model that of the customer that would be there.
And then can you tell us about the ballards and making sure that your neighbors' buildings are not going to get damaged? What?
Yeah, we already discussed during our meeting with the different departments that would definitely be included in the plan going forward so that there's no issues
Okay,
with.
so what was suggested as far as making sure they're heavy enough, and then also that there's a cross beam? That's all.
Well, my experience, I'm sure Ken has a lot more experience than I do, but a bollard is very, I mean, if you do it right, just tapping it isn't going to do anything. I mean, it's going to stop your car. You have to go drive really fast into it if you're going to get through or bend a bollard. So again, these people are going to be backing up at less than 5 miles per hour. So just having that stop point, if you do the bollards right, you're not going to get through that. So I think the bollard plan will work perfect.
And that was, Ken, that is specified by our city engineer as far as what has to be there and all of that for safety.
Yeah, so in the conditions, they have to actually submit a plan, a bollard placement plan and stuff. So we would look at the size of the bollards and everything, because like you said, there are, some bollards can be smaller, but like if you're looking at bollards that would be put in, that would stop like a semi-truck trailer or something, that's like a 6-inch bollard filled with concrete, stuck in the ground pretty decent distance, so they don't just bend over type of stuff. So that would all be covered in the plan that they would submit for final approval.
And that's going to all be approved by our city engineering
Yes.
department. So this is going to be pretty cautious. Okay. And you've probably had a little bit of experience with big rigs.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Bigger's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know. Does anybody else have any other questions for? Okay.
I see that there is, item number 14 shows a 8-foot tall CMU block wall that stretches the entire length of the property, correct?
That's correct.
So there would be a block wall in addition to, what is CMU? stand for?
Concrete.
Concrete?
So masonry.
Yeah, so there's already, I believe, a wood fence, then a chain link fence. So this would be the third fence that would be required between us and the property owners to the west, because it is residential. So that is a requirement of the city.
Now, is it both on the west and the east?
No, so Commissioner Collins, this back property line up there, if you look back up there,
Yep.
it would be across that western property line.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's any other commentary, we will go ahead and close the, yes, please. Please state your name and your address.
Yes, my name is Alan Van Slyke. I reside at 705 South Acacia Avenue. I've been in that residence my entire life. I've seen this street as it is. My concern is by putting more this type of business there, which I don't have a problem with it, except I know it's going to increase the traffic, and Acacia Avenue has become a pretty major thoroughfare between Doak Boulevard and Main Street. And a couple of years back, we were promised a new street because they shut off Stockton Boulevard and repaired that, and they made Acacia the truck route. And so while they were doing Doak and Stockton, and that pretty well destroyed our street. It hasn't been paved, I don't think, in 40 years or better. And with this increased traffic, I realize they're going to improve the frontage of their area a little bit. But you guys as a commission, I want to bring this to you that not with all this other improvements that are coming in, we're going to increase more traffic and the road's going to get a lot worse. So that's my major concern is traffic increase plus the possible 24/7 of that business doing it down there. And that's my main concern. I mean, I realize, things have to improve and things are going on. But we need to kind of finish up our commitments or make the improvements around properties instead of just adding more properties to the city rolls and population. So that's really what I want to say. But that's something that I think should be considered on not only his business but other businesses going in down there, because we're doing patchwork on streets and just in front of 50, 100, 200 feet at a time, half a street, and it's just really hodgepodge down there. And like I said, we were promised a new street after that incident with the trucking route becoming down there. And like I say, he's got what 14, 15 units, and they're not the lightest units. Evidently, they're not the heaviest either. But again, that's going to be an increase in traffic and some commercial vehicles, large pickups and stuff like that, motorhomes.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Any questions for Alan? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public meeting and have a conversation.
Ken, do you know anything about streets going, street work going in out there? know
I
it's been
don't,
difficult.
that'd be something with the engineering department. They do have a street condition map that they work off of every year when they look at different projects. So, yeah, I don't know when that one's slated to be redone or not, but the applicant is redoing their half of the street, which was a requirement of the mini storage when they did their project. They redid their half of the street as well. So these guys are doing the same. But other than that, it's not fair to tell an applicant to redo the whole street all the way through there. So until the city is ready to tackle that, I don't know when that's slated though.
Are you, the parking that Mr. Van Groningen mentioned, approximately 200 feet or whatever, curbside? In your estimation, is that adequate for parking?
Yeah, I mean, I have an RV myself. It's been my experience. And when you come and get your RV, you drive in, hook it up, take off with it, take it home, load it up. When you get home, you unload it, and then you want to take it back, park it, park it, and you take off. You don't necessarily park your vehicle out on the street unless maybe you forgot something in the trailer or the RV. Unless it's maybe a motorhome, then you would drive a car there. The length of these sites don't lend themselves for like motorhome parking, just because the longest sites are about 30 and a half feet. Typically motorhomes are a little bit longer than that, unless they're the smaller ones. So there could be a couple that would have to park. possibly, but I don't see, we didn't see any issues with that.
Just out of curiosity, let's say, for example, there did become a parking issue in front of the Acacia Mini Storage. It could be, the parking could change potentially so that it was more limited as far as how long somebody could park there. Would that be accurate?
What's your question again on that?
So let's say they put a bunch of cars in front. Let's say there are some motorhomes or people leave cars in front of Acacia Mini Storage. Probably right now, it's a, you can leave it there for 3 to 5 days or whatever. It's a commercial area though. Could they request that that parking in front of their building be limited to a shorter time frame?
Yeah, that would be a police department decision when it gets down to that.
Just a question about an increase possibly in theft, vandalism, et cetera, with that. Does the city see an issue with that increasing or neutral or declining based on the lighting and the more traffic?
They didn't see a huge issue with that. They did request a camera back on that. They were gonna put a street light back on that, on the street there. If you look at our street light spacing, there's one required to go in. There will be a, city security camera put on that light pole that would be able to keep an eye on that, amongst other things in the neighborhood. But they didn't see an issue with thefts as far as on that site.
One last question for you, Ken. The bollards, okay? We don't have any drawings of them, any description of them. Do you have a concept that those bollards, what they should look like in order to protect?
Yeah, I'd have to look in the engineering standards. I'm sure they have a standard for bollard. If not, I mean, they could look at bollards for, that we've done with some of our trucking facilities. Those are a little more robust, like 6-inch diameter type pipes that get put in the ground filled with concrete versus, maybe a smaller bollard that would withstand that. But,
Stop a trailer.
yeah, there is a condition they have to submit and get that approval through the placement and also the size of those in the conditions of approval.
So it would come back through you to make?
Yes, yes, and engineering.
If there's no other questions, for the major site review, SR 24-62 for 821 South Acacia Avenue, should the planning commission agree with the staff's recommendation, the following motion would be appropriate. The planning commission approves the major site plan SR 24-62 on 821 South Acacia Avenue for Acacia Avenue RV storage based on the findings and subject to the conditions of the staff report. Have a motion.
Unless there's further discussion, I would make the motion as Steve read it.
I will second that. Got it.
Trigger figure. Okay, so the vote is yes, 3, no, 0, and no abstentions. The discussion item is adopted. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our time for the public hearing. I'm sorry, for our public discussion. We have 2 items to discuss for the public hearings. The use permit extension for the Avid Candlewood Suites. They're asking for a 1-year extension, as well as the annual review of the development agreements. And we'll start with the use permit extension request. Request for the developer Manteca Hospitality Incorporated for the Planning Commission to approve an additional 1-year time extension for the Avid Candlewood Suites project that was approved in October of 2022.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. Like you had mentioned off of the agenda here, originally the commission did approve a 4-story, about 45,000 square foot hotel out. It's located out by Flying J, adjacent to the Denny's diner out there. There's a vacant lot between the freeway and the truck stop there. In October of 2022, that was approved. A lot of conditions with that project. I did attach the original staff report, so if you had a chance, maybe hopefully review that. We went through all the conditions. When we got the extension request, there's really nothing that the city thinks we would change with any of the conditions or add any other additional conditions. So the recommendation from staff would be to approve the 1-year extension. They did cite in their request letter, they're just having some problems finding builders right now with the interest rates the way they are. So I guess I'll see if they can get another year under their belt here and see if they can get somebody to pick it up and build the project.
Okay, so our other hotel, they ran into some problems with the Caltrans and PG&E, but that's not the case here. It's just finding a builder.
Yeah, so the other project, actually, the developer was the one that got that approved. This project over here seems to be more of like a speculator that
Oh,
got the project approved and looking for someone to buy it and pick it up and build it out. So they are looking at different financing options. They just said they've had some problems with the interest rates the way they are. So we felt it would be okay to give a 1-year extension. That would give them another additional year to get this thing off the ground. There were some decent improvements that were going to come with the project, like landscaping of the median out there on Jacktone Road and some better access to our park and ride lot that we have kind of tucked back over by the freeway there. It was going to have an easement through their lot to get to that a little more direct path. So we think a 1-year extension is warranted.
Okay, so from the time since it was approved in October of 2022, has there been any public complaints brought to the city or any additional comment outside of a planning commission or city council meeting?
No, but it's not unusual. Like I said, we have a project down the road here that's turning dirt. Lennar Homes purchased the project, was approved in 2017. And now there's comments coming in because it's like, when did that happen? So but we haven't had that. So I mean, over at the hotel, you probably wouldn't even hear it until they started maybe doing something on the site, and then they would say something. But it's not unusual.
Okay, fair enough.
well, I think it's a fair enough request, and our city definitely needs more hotels. I mean, I'm looking forward to that other one getting built maybe someday. So I have no problem with it.
I also have a problem with it, just really quick. So they have 1 year, we're only allowed a 1-year extension, correct?
Correct.
And then what would they have to do to make this happen?
They'd actually have to pull permit. They have to get the permit pulled and start construction. So what we're going to see at the one across town here, they say they're going to start. They actually have till February to get things started. So they would have to get like a grading permit, start actual construction on the project, and pull their permit with the city.
So I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, it still is. I think it's great with Missland and the amount of traffic there. That's not going to go anywhere but more. So I think having a hotel close by is great. Okay, so should the planning commission agree or any questions?
I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Okay, we'll make a motion.
That the planning commission approve an additional 1-year extension request for the use permit for Avid Candlewood Suites project based on the findings and subject to the conditions.
I'll second.
All right.
Okay, yes is 3, no 0. All right, well, we have our annual review for our development agreements with Silverstone subdivision, Alexandria Place subdivision, the Vineyard subdivision, Meadowwood, Pereira subdivision, Ripon Gardens 2, and Calvary Reformed Church master plan. And I need to disclose that I had a conversation this morning with Jonathan Meeks, who is the vice president on the leadership team at Calvary, asking if he should be in attendance, and I deferred him to your department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I did get that email earlier. I was able to respond back to him on that. This is just our annual review of development agreements. It's this state law requires that we review our active development agreements annually and render a report to the city council, who would then accept that report. So that kind of meets our statutory requirements for that. So this basically, there's attached to the staff report is a list of all the development agreements we've had since we started doing development agreements. And you'll see a lot of them are in red. That means they've just expired in time, so they're not considered active anymore, although some of their conditions in the development agreements do run with the land in perpetuity. There's 7 of them that are considered active yet, that are still considered active. Some are 100% built out, but they just haven't ran through their 10-year time frame, which they have. And those actually are the ones that are listed in blue. I think there was 3 of them on the list. And then there's actually 4 active development agreements. There's 2. One's Lennar Homes, who's actually building right now. JKB Living, which is the Pereira subdivision, which is over on North Ripon. We're hoping to see that thing get actually moving this next year, early this next year. And then we had Calvary Church has a kind of a longer term master plan for their campus over there. That one's still active, and also the Ripon Gardens too, which actually has 1 parcel out there in the commercial area remaining on the corner of North Ripon and River Road. So those are the active development agreements. Staff did review all the conditions that were in the development agreements, and all the developers are in compliance with those conditions, so they're not out of compliance with the development agreements. So that's what the report here, or the staff report, goes through. Recommended action is to make that recommendation to the city council. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Couple, Ken. Meadowwood 56, are they gonna be required to underground?
Yes, that's part of the original conditions. So yeah, they will be underironing that canal. They're still running water through it right now, so SSJID won't let you touch their facilities till they're in their off season, which is probably here shortly in the next week or 2. They will be done running water for the season, and that's when they'll let people work on their facilities. So that will be getting tackled here shortly with the Lennar Homes project.
Awesome, thank you. And then on 53, any bites on that, any action whatsoever on that little?
No, nothing on that corner lot to date yet. So.
Okay, if there's no other questions, should the planning commission agree with the staff's recommendation, the following motion would be appropriate? Do we have a motion?
I will make that motion. Planning Commission agrees that there's been compliance in good faith with the terms and conditions of all respective development agreements and directs staff to prepare a written report to the City Council.
I'll second.
Okay, the development agreement annual review has been adopted 3-0. Any reports from city staff?
Just a couple small things here on the radar. We are still processing through an application for gas station on the corner of Frontage Road and Arkway over there. They've been going through the environmental on it. The environmental did identify some traffic issues in that area, which we already kind of knew we had with Arkway and Fulton Avenue. Certain times of the day gets kind of backed up with traffic, especially morning hours with school and stuff going into session. So one of the mitigation measures that was identified for there, and we actually have that planned out for a future roundabout at some point in that intersection, which would help. So we are sitting down with the applicant to talk through possibility of them putting that roundabout in as part of the mitigation for their project. So we'll see if that gets past that meeting and gets to you guys. We're not sure if the applicant's going to be okay with that. But if it does pass that muster, then we might be seeing that project here the next few months, possibly. In front of Planning Commission, it's the one we've been working on for a little bit of time now. Another couple of items that I think the City Council's been keeping an eye on, we've been keeping them abreast of, but we'll share that with you as well, is we did get a notice from the county, San Joaquin County, that they're looking to amend some of their development code, their ordinances. They're looking to allow mobile home parks to be located in the county on ag zoned property within 2 miles of a city limit. So any projects would have to be within 2 miles of city limit, but it would be outside in the county. So we are kind of, we've got a lot of concerns with that, as from a city's perspective. One being that it could go on any ag zoned property, which we have a lot of property that we want to see for future commercial, future job generation. That would open all those properties up to be able to plop a mobile home park in the middle of it. And then once we do annex that in, now we're trying to develop, uses that are not necessarily conforming with each other around it. Makes that pretty difficult. Not to mention that they would all have their own well sites, which is a potential issue for us with the city, and probably their own septic systems or septic treatment plants, small treatment plants on their own parcels as well. So all those are of pretty good concern with us. We've been working with the other cities in the county. It's something that's going to be going to their planning commission here probably Thursday of this week. And then it would have to be ultimately voted on by the Board of Supervisors. So we've gotten some letters together. Tom's been working diligently with other cities and other city attorneys, and we'll see where this one ends up. So that's something that we've been keeping an eye on. And then also we did get a notice from Stanislaus County for an environmental report that's being prepared for the Salida Community Plan. It's a plan that's been around roughly for 30 plus years, but they're finally starting to kind of move that a little bit and actually get some environmental work done on it. So kind of open that up to start building. The Salida Community Plan, if you want, I can send you guys copies of that. It's about a 4-page document right now that's just asking for comments about what should be studied in the environmental impact report. But a lot of commercial in the area, a lot of housing, about 5,000 units that they're looking to add to the Salida area. 5,000 units, just to give you a perspective, is kind of size of Ripon. 15,000 to 16,000 people is what they're expecting to add in that whole area at some point. And then also they have some commercial that actually comes all the way up and abuts the river. So they'd be right across the river from us. So a couple things that, obviously we'd be concerned about is traffic is number one concern. So they're going to be studying that in the environmental impact report. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how they want to address some of that. Have some more comments in the future, but just also some possible economic impacts to us as well. If they're developing commercial and stuff that's right up against our borders here, it's going to obviously hamper some of our, desires to do some commercial here. So those are a couple things we're keeping an eye on, but be happy to, with the Salida plan, get that out to you guys just to take a look at if you want.
Is that east or west of 99?
On both sides, actually. Yeah, they're looking at both sides. So yeah, it's I've looked through the plan. I wouldn't say it's a bad looking plan. It's just going to have some impacts to us for sure. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, traffic. I have a question for you regarding the wine and spirits project that we approved. It seems like it's stalled out. Do you have anything going on there that you can share with us?
Yeah, so they got the outside of the building fully done, and then they went they submitted plans to do the inside the tenant improvements in there, and we're trying to get a loan to kind of get the inside built out. So I think they're still trying to acquire some financing to finish it up.
Got it.
So the person who's going to actually open the business is not the person
No, it's the
that
same
built it?
same
Okay.
person.
But it's called tenant improvements?
Yeah, just because they're improving just the interior of the building.
Hmm.
So that's the way we refer to it. Tenant
Okay.
improvements is like interior improvements.
Okay.
And then what type of business is he looking at?
This is the wine and spirits out there by Popeyes. Yeah, that building that's by Tractor Supply.
So he's going to do wine and spirits?
Yeah.
So that was the Bevmo,
Yeah.
the nicer Bevmo.
Yeah, actually the tenant improvement plans we've seen come through are actually pretty nice looking plans. They've got like a wine tasting area in there and some other stuff too. So I think it's obviously what they've explained they were going to build out there is what they're doing. So it should be pretty nice. It's just taking a little time to get the interior going on this thing.
Financing seems to be the problem these days, for sure.
I'm kind of curious about these potential mobile home parks. Now, we have a general plan for Ripon where, can the county just ignore our general plan and say, we're going to put it
It gets into, it's much like the church that landed right out here, right
Uh-huh.
outside of our city
Or
limits.
the
Farm
apartments.
labor housing
Yes.
that came in
Yeah.
over there. Those are all mandated by state law really, but, this here would be, you know, a county ordinance. So yeah, we wouldn't, they've said they would take our comments into consideration, but doesn't mean they would vote no on it. So that's kind of where we have some concerns is that, you know, if they're trying to land in an area, especially an area that we want for future commercial, industrial, like I said, job generation type stuff, we certainly don't want a mobile home park in the middle of an industrial zoned area. That could be very problematic. Um, you know, if they come in and they want to locate in a residentially zoned area, I mean, it's probably not as big of a deal, but still, we lose a lot of control on design and
yeah.
standards when it comes in like that. I mean, it's all going to be under their standards. You know, we have standards of, you know, our streets are paver streets just because they last longer. You know, we have wider sidewalks because we think that's what makes a good quality community. Our setbacks are different than other communities. So that we lose a lot of that control, and they would just have a project that eventually, once we annex, they're inside city limits, and now we got to take this on. Some of the other concerns we have too is like, you know, I don't know if the sheriff department is going to be commenting on it or not. We haven't really had contact with them, but you know, they're going to be able to serve some of these communities and animal control with some of these communities. You know, all this type of stuff is stuff that's going to add to the workload of the county. So yeah, it's concerning to us. I know there's probably a couple projects that some folks might have in mind, but they're not necessarily here right now. But that doesn't mean that something can't crop up here. It's going to certainly make some of this properties right around city limits very lucrative. for
So
that
Ken,
type-
you mentioned within 2 miles of city earlier on. This could be put right adjacent to the city of Ripon.
Oh yeah, so within 2 miles means that you have to develop it within 2 miles. If you get more than 2 miles out, they won't allow. It's kind of the way the language is written right now. So they
So,
want it,
yeah,
they
it's
want
pro-
them
it's a-
closer. They want them closer to cities.
Got it. And then are you saying that would become a part of the Ripon city limits at that point?
Not at that point, but you know, if we do actually annex at some point and pull some of that property in around it and stuff, they would come in with an annexation because you're not going to leave an island of county inside your city limits. So if you're looking at, yeah, so we could be inheriting some of these things.
So you'd have higher emergency services, for example, I would imagine, that would
Yeah,
fall under.
at that point, yes, but like, you know, once they're built, we didn't collect any development fees on it
Mhm.
and stuff. So like the stuff that we have to take on, we didn't really even reap the benefit of getting transportation fees, sewer, garbage, water, and all that stuff. Now the fire district's a bigger district, so they would probably be paying fire district fees if they're developing within 2 miles of our city limits. So, they would get some revenue when they were developed, but, yeah, the city would just have to kind of absorb those at some point, and just not necessarily the standards we want.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Any other
The
questions?
General purpose of this is to increase affordable housing.
Yes.
I'm sure, yeah.
And
The
so the
it's the
state
state,
is-
yeah.
Happy.
Yeah, I think that's maybe that's kind of the reasoning behind some of this, but it also kind of makes it very lucrative for some developers possibly to do something like that and not have to pay development fees too. So we're not sure what the motive is behind some of this.
I might have some land.
Okay, if there's no other questions, Ken, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
This meeting's adjourned.